Thanks so much, Laura. And you've been a terrific MC today, and we really appreciate you hosting such an informative set of conversations on climate action. And welcome, Mark. It's good to share the stage with you as we move to the final segment of our summit. I'm going to just provide some perspective. 3 days ago, we started this summit by acknowledging how unequal the world is. And Dan Schulman of PayPal said it really well when he spoke about economic inclusion. He said, it's expensive to be poor. This is a pivotal moment for the private sector to demonstrate its leadership to driving to more equitable outcomes, particularly leveraging the core business. I think we heard that again and again in all the conversations. I also want to acknowledge that while the private sector still has a lot of work to do, we at FSG and the Shared Value Initiative have work to do as well, as we all want to put equity at the center of corporate purpose and shared value. It's easy to become overwhelmed by the challenges that confront society and be daunted by the work ahead, but I do remain hopeful. And Darren Walker from the Ford Foundation spoke on our first day, and I think he said it well when he said that hope is the oxygen of our democracy. I'm also hopeful because nearly 2,200 people registered from around the world for this summit, and it says a lot that leaders from the private sector and civil society are seeking ideas to deliver better solutions. This is a moment for a great pivot to a different way of doing business when society needs us most. And we listened to some really compelling examples this week, such as PayPal's efforts to democratize financial services for greater economic inclusion. Unilever's commitment to pioneering new employment models as we navigate the future of work. We heard how Hollywood from Franklin Leonard can create value for society and business by addressing anti-Black bias in the film industry. Merck is putting patients at the center of their work and their voices to deliver greater access to health. Rockefeller Foundation and Abbott are using data in new ways to change health outcomes. And Procter & Gamble is using its marketing prowess to change harmful narratives about gender and particularly stereotypes that limit and minimize girls. And yesterday, we closed out with Discovery Limited. Their CEO, Adrian Gore, talked about behavioral data and how it's being used to increase our health span, not just our lifespan. And then today we heard some breakthrough efforts from REI, Enel, and HP to address climate change through their innovative approaches. And finally, we heard so poignantly from Natalie that young people need us to act and they want their voices and ideas included. I'm now going to hand it over to Mark to say a few words, and then I'll be back to officially close our event. So Mark, over to you.
Thank you, Bobbi, and thanks for those great remarks and reminders of some of the terrific presentations that we've heard these last couple of days. I really do have to say that these presentations, this conference, feels to me like a very important source of hope. To hear these terrific stories about what companies are actually doing, and not doing merely on the periphery of their operations, not doing merely as a public relations stunt, but really embracing the idea of purpose, recognizing the essential nature of equity, and confronting the transition that we need to make to move from an economic model that is destroying our planet to one that operates synergistically with the needs of our planet and nature. It's hard to watch what's going on in Glasgow with COP26 without a sense that we have failed at the challenge of eliminating climate change. It seems that we are on a path, whether it is 2 degrees Celsius, 2.5 degrees Celsius, it is a path of significant change in our global climate. But having failed to meet the challenge to date does not mean that we must fail going forward to limit further damage. And even more importantly, Let us not fail the test of equity that will result from the very disproportionate consequences of the climate change that is already happening. I think, too, we have to confess that we have not met the challenge of inequality of wealth. It continues to grow. But let us not let that failure hold us back from ensuring that everyone has at least a living wage that enables them to provide for themselves and their family, and that has the opportunity for economic advancement in whatever region of the world they might live. We've spent a fair amount of time over the last few days talking about the issues of racial equity, the importance of equity to the success of business, and of course, the moral imperative that underlies our commitment to equity. But we can't ignore the opposition. We cannot ignore those who so vociferously deny the challenges of equity, who are using equity, and in the US, critical race theory, as a flashpoint for protest and increasingly violent response. But I have a rather subversive thought to offer you in response to that. The business case for equity is real. But one of the nice things about business is that they have to be rational in their decision making. They need to make the choices that are in the economic interests of the company. Company management is fundamentally reality-based. In a way, much of the political controversy going on in our country and in many countries in the world today are not reality-based. So I think that when we make the business case for equity, we do not in any way undermine the moral case, but it's just possible we might be able to sidestep all of the political furor that is surrounding the equity debate today. If we can say this is in the economic interest of our company and our shareholders, and find the real basis for that argument in the math, we manage to avoid the ideological fight of whether this is a good path or a bad path, of whether there are winners and losers who resent the thought that they might lose. So I think there is a subversive reason to treat equity as an opportunity for creating shared value and economic success for our companies. It enables us to do what is right and what is necessary with a rationale that cannot be defeated by contrary ideology. The last thought I want to leave you with, as I mentioned in my remarks the other day, is that shared value, I have come to believe, is a personal choice. There are ways to make money that are harmful to society, that continue inequity and oppression. But there are as many or more ways to make money that help promote a just and equitable and sustainable society. I believe it is up to each of us to decide which choice we want to make. And shared value is a roadmap for making what I believe is the more rewarding choice. After all, the search for meaning in life, as Viktor Frankl has said, is one of the great motivators of humanity. And it has been a privilege for me to discover that in pursuing the idea of shared value and creating shared value for others in the world, I've been able to find a new degree of meaning in my own life. And I wish for each of you the opportunity to do the same. Thank you so much for being with us these last few days. Thank you for your support of the Shared Value Initiative. And thank you for the work you are doing in each of your organizations to help promote a better world. Bobbi, back to you.
Mark, thank you so much for those really powerful closing words. You've given us a lot to think about, and we just so appreciate everything that you do in partnership with the Shared Value Initiative. But we're also just delighted that we get to share you with the broader Shared Value community, because I know that we all appreciate your new ideas and thinking and for pushing us forward. The world definitely needs that. So thank you. I also just want to thank our amazing sponsors, Merck, 3M, Abbott, HCA Healthcare, Procter & Gamble, and Sanofi for their generous support of this summit and making it available and free to the public. I also want to express gratitude for all our presenters and our MCs for engaging, informing, and inspiring all of us these last 3 days. We're going to be sending out an email to all attendees with links to the recording. So if you didn't get a chance to catch everything, you can certainly do that online. And although they did not appear on the virtual stage over these 3 days and have been working behind the scenes to make this summit come alive, I want to give a big shout out to the Shared Value Initiative team, Alicia Dunn, George Eckert, Gail Gershon, and Imani Hicks. I just want to thank them all for making this possible. And I want to thank all of you for joining us, and importantly, for doing the work that you do every day to create a more just and equitable world. Thank you, and we hope to see you at another Shared Value Initiative event soon.